guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jess Hover. So good to have you here. I'm in this position because I'm going to show you my tummy. I'm pregnant again, third baby. This one's a surprise. Here it is, growing. A real baby. The funny thing is I was pregnant this time last year. Voila, I get to do it again. What a gift. Yeah, we're thankful. I have a baby coming in November of this year. I don't know exactly how far along I am because I'm still nursing, so we don't know when I conceived. But November is this baby's due date, and maybe I'm 17 weeks, roughly. I also have a baby who is almost a year old. Wilson will be a year old on June 27th. Eloise, my 4-year-old, will turn 5 on June 25th. And if you're new to my channel, I make a lot of videos for parents. I didn't start this channel that way. It sort of evolved over time. And I also thought it was mainly moms watching, but now I'm finding that there's a lot of dads and friends of family members and I don't know, all kinds of people watching. So I'm thankful that you're here. Today's video is about natural, unmedicated labor. So I'm going to talk about my labor and delivery story with Wilson. I delivered both Eloise and Wilson vaginally without epidurals. So I'm going to share with you about that. Also going to give you some tips for a great labor. I want to make another video due to some of the feedback I've gotten from you guys, and that video is going to be about what to do if your labor and delivery doesn't go as you hoped that it would. Because now that I've been around for a while and I'm seeing friends experience this, I recognize that that can be a really painful experience. Of course, the baby itself is so great, but I just would love to speak to that to you guys, but it's going to be longer than what I have to say here. So I'm going to put that in another video. If that's something that sounds interesting to you, will you tell me in the comments? Because it just helps reinforce what I should be doing or shouldn't be doing. This channel, it didn't start off as a channel for moms or parents. It's kind of evolved over time, and that's what I've been making videos about recently, and I love that you're here watching. So this video specifically is going to be speaking to you guys who are carrying children, about to deliver children probably, but yeah, I recognize that I have a diverse audience of families watching. I have families who are adopting, families who have surrogate children, and people who are just kind of thinking about what it will be like to have kids. And I have a whole bunch of you who write me, and you don't have kids on the horizon, but you're still hanging out with me, listening to me talk about this stuff, and I'm so thankful. So thanks for being here. If you want to catch more of my life, my family, kind of real behind the scenes stuff, behind the scenes sounds like so important. Anyway, if you want to just see my life, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at Jess_Hover. And then if you are a parent looking for more support in this baby stage of life or toddler stage of life, I have a preschooler, I have a kindergartner, she's going to kindergarten. Join us. We have a Facebook group called Jess Hover and Friends, and it's just a place that I created so you all could connect with each other and be really awesome and encouraging and share things you're going through and get positive feedback. It's a great group. Really excited about it. If you want to join, welcome. We'd love to have you. Oh, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the little bell notification. I'm out of breath. Is that pregnancy or does somebody need to go exercising? Probably a little of both. We're still sort of quarantined, but I heard that the YMCA is opening at the end of the month, and I'm so excited, even though they're not going to have childcare, so I don't really know how I'm going to pull that off. Anyway, I'm pretty excited. Back to the show. What was the show? Also, pregnancy, I feel like my brain is melting out of my ears. Oh, yeah, well, I don't remember what I was going to tell you, but sorry about that. I don't know. Okay, here we go. I had a baby without an epidural about 5 years ago now, Eloise. I did make a video about that. So I have a video called How to Have a Baby Without an Epidural that I made a couple months after she was born. I think one of my first videos that I made, and it has almost 1 million views. If you've seen it, thank you so much. That is so amazing to me. I did not feel confident making that video because I don't consider myself an expert on doing this stuff, but my good friend Carly encouraged me to do it. She said it's something that moms are looking up and that my input would be valuable. And then I made the video and it got a lot of views. In recent months, more people have asked me to talk about this again because I did it again with Wilson. And so I will talk about that. If you want just tips for how to have a baby without an epidural, go watch that old video. This one I'll talk about Wilson. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't really care about epidurals. It's not like I have this big, strong thing in me of like, oh, you really shouldn't get an epidural because of this, that, or the other. I just weirdly happened to encounter a few people who had horrible epidural experiences, which is so rare. You have to know that it's so rare to have a terrible epidural experience. But I met a few people in real life, face to face, who had bad epidural experiences, and their stories scared me enough that I was like, yeah, sure, I'll try and have a baby without any pain medication. Sounds good. So that's really what happened. I also saw, sounds so funny. Anyway, I saw a girl on Instagram who, she's really beautiful and cool, and I didn't know she was this tough. Like, I don't know. To me, if I hear that you had a baby without an epidural, there's something in me that's like, whoa, cool. I mean, now that I've done it, I don't think that way about myself, but that's how I thought. And I found out that this girl had a baby without an epidural, and when I saw that, I was like, oh, well, if she can do it, I could probably do it, because, you know, anyway, it makes her sound like I don't think she's tough. She's so tough. But I just thought, like, okay, relatable. I did not have a clue what I was getting myself into when I went to deliver Eloise. I had been living in Spain for 3 months with Sean. I don't even know how I got picked. Sorry, I was gonna say I don't know how I got picked to make mom videos, but the thing is I picked myself, so that's how I got picked. What I more mean is I don't know why I'm the person talking about this, because a lot of the stuff I say you're like, Jessica, are you serious? But here's the thing. I was in Spain 3 months. I did not go to the doctor about my pregnancy. I missed most of the tests during that pregnancy that they tell you to take. I did not take a single parenting class nor birthing classes. I did not watch YouTube videos on how to have a baby. I really was like, my body is made for it. I'll figure it out. It'll be fine. I don't recommend that method, but it happened and it worked for me. I would say the positive part of that is that I really didn't have a lot of fear of having a baby without an epidural, because I just really had no clue. I was like, okay, yeah, we're gonna figure it out. With Wilson, I had a bit more fear because I had done it one time, and it is a painful experience. There's this really wonderful doula who makes videos. Her name's Bridget Teyler. She is great, and she makes a lot of really great videos on having babies without medication and the language she uses. I'm going to link her stuff because it's so good, and she's really educated on the topic. Yeah, basically her style of talking about it is like, it is challenging. There may be challenges. You may find discomfort in your labor. My way of talking about it is more like, it hurt so bad with Eloise that then when I went into it with Wilson, I was like, oh, this is gonna hurt so bad. But also, what I will say, oh, the reason why I told you about Bridget is if you don't really prefer my style of like telling you that it hurts so bad, don't watch it, stop the video and go watch her, because what she and I agree on is we want you guys to have awesome labor experiences, and neither of us, none of us, nobody here wants you to be afraid. So if I'm starting to scare you, just turn me right off and flip to a happy video, because you don't need to be afraid. Anyway, what I will say is that I was a bit more nervous with Wilson because I had experienced the discomfort and challenge of natural unmedicated labor. But I also was really excited because of the moment of like the climax of meeting your child after the chaos of, oh my goodness, this baby's coming and it hurts and it's crazy, and then you see your baby. That moment is the most incredible moment I've ever experienced, ever. And so that I was holding on to, like, this is gonna be awesome. The other thing with Wilson, going into that labor and delivery where I was trying to decide, should I get an epidural, should I not, was that I had already made myself known as the person on YouTube who did not get an epidural. So I sort of felt like, you know, if I did it once and people know that I could do it, I should just do it again, and then we can talk about it. Now it's my third baby and I do not feel that. I more just feel like, what should I do? What if this is my last baby? coming out of me this way. Should I get an epidural just to try it, or should I do it naturally or unmedicated? I don't really like saying naturally because I think that it's all pretty natural. And even if you have to get a C-section, not that that's the natural way out, but I don't know. There's something about saying unnatural that makes it sound like less, I don't know. It's all in my head, but I'm just gonna say medicated or unmedicated. So this time around, I'm on the fence as to if I'll get an epidural or unmedicated. Yeah, I don't know. I'll tell you. You'll know as soon as I do what I decide. I had a really long labor with Wilson. I thought it was going to go faster and be easier because he's my second kid, and I felt like, I was already primed for this, but it was not that way at all. The first day that I went to the hospital was around today, last year. I can't remember the exact date. It was today. Oh my gosh. It was today last year that I went to the hospital because I was having contractions 5 minutes apart, and they were consistent. They were lasting a long time. And I had Eloise 10 days early. And so today is 10 days before Wilson's due date, and Wilson was born on his due date. And so I go to the hospital, and the doctor's like, yep, you're dilated. I think I was dilated like 1 centimeter, which means your cervix is starting to open, right? I was 1 centimeter, and I was something effaced. I don't remember how effaced. That's how thin your cervix is getting. And yeah, basically the nurse, the doctor, they were like, yeah, you can tell your sister to come. My sister lives in Colorado, so she was gonna fly out here to be a part of my birth team. And they were like, it looks like you're gonna have your baby in the next day, maybe 2, but if you continue with these contractions, you can go home and come back when they get more intense, because at that point I knew that I didn't want medication, and I don't live far from the hospital. So I call my sister, she books a flight, she comes here, and the contractions, they slowed, but they didn't stop. This was the weirdest thing. So over the course of the next 10 days, I continued having regular contractions. They just slowed down. And then every now and then, 7 times, over the course of 10 days, they sped up again and would get 5 minutes apart for hours at a time. And I would go back to the hospital, and they would say, okay, you can either stay here or go home. At that point, I didn't want to be induced. I didn't want medication to speed it up because I felt like it was happening as it should. But I will tell you, I was getting so tired because it was affecting my sleep. It was also kind of emotionally exhausting because every day it's this question of like, am I going to go have my baby now? So every day I'm arranging childcare for Eloise. People are kind of ready at any moment for me to go. I'm walking, I'm doing all kinds of things to try and progress this labor further. And it wasn't happening. It would happen and then it wouldn't. And it was crazy. So then my doctor suggested at one point that I get my membranes swept. So that's where she has a glove on, right? And she goes inside of me and she like swipes around and separates the wall of my uterus, I think, from something. I'm not the girl for the science behind it all, but basically that's supposed to naturally progress labor. That was on the 26th of June, the day after Eloise's birthday, and I was again having consistent contractions, but they weren't fast enough. So she said, my doctor said, I'm gonna sweep your membranes, and in her experience, that always leads to a progression of labor. So that was around, I don't know, 4 or 5 in the evening, I think, or afternoon. And I went home, and sure enough, at like 2 in the morning or 1 in the morning, something, we have a vlog of this if you want to see like specifics. But yeah, my contractions picked up, and at that point I was like pretty expectant that baby would come. Also a little nervous that I would be one of those stories where I would just deliver in the car because this had been going for so long. So I do think I took a bath, maybe I walked around a bit because I knew once I got to the hospital it was going to be like more chill, and I was going to be more restricted as far as where I could go and what I could do. So we went to the hospital. My sister came, and then my kind of an honorary mom in my life. Her name is Gina. She's a birth coach and just somebody who loves us like crazy, and was in the room when Eloise arrived, and she's been in a lot of people's labor and delivery processes. She is awesome. So Gina, she arrived in the morning, and I was contracting all night. I was more dilated and more effaced. I don't know exactly the progression at that point, but it was clear that baby would come soon, little Wilson. I feel like this time around, I was more prepared for the pain. So I was different in the way I handled it versus with Eloise. I think with Eloise, I'll say this. When you're in kind of a stressful time, labor doesn't have to be stressful, but when you're in this kind of anticipation and the pain is intensifying as you go, the temptation inside of your body is to like hold your breath or hyperventilate. That happens if you're afraid or, going through something intense. With Eloise, I did that more. Thankfully, I had the people in the room to kind of help chill me out. But with Wilson, I was much more aware of that in my mind. So I was doing the breathing techniques that people teach you on the internet that I didn't know back then, but Gina helped me with too, which is like breathing in through your nose for like, I don't know, say 4 seconds. Say you breathe in for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 8 seconds. You breathe out longer than you breathe in. I wasn't calculated that way when I was doing it. It was just more, I was aware of like the very deep breaths that were happening. It's the same thing you do if you're experiencing anxiety, fear, if you're struggling to sleep at night. This deep breathing of breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth and really letting the air kind of fill your gut. It's a calming method, regardless of if you're in labor or in any other part of life that you just need to be chilled out. So I feel like I did a better job of that with Wilson. I also had nice music playing for both of my labors. At some point I probably had rap music playing because that makes me stoked. But I think for Wilson it was the middle of the night and I was tired, and I don't think I had rap music playing. I think I just had like calming worship music or something. Oh yeah, I did. There's a video of it. That's how I remember. And so I do think that with Wilson, I was able to stay more kind of on top of what was going on mentally because it was not entirely new to me. The more my labor progressed, so the way labor works is you're gonna go from like 1 to 5 centimeters dilated. This is my interpretation of all the information I've received. I'm not a doula, though. One time last year in October, I got to be my friend's honorary doula. I got to be there in the room with her as part of her birth team and help her with her labor. And it was so amazing. And I would totally do it again. I loved it so much. So I have been a doula once, but I'm not a doula professionally. Anyway, let me just tell you this. So from 1 to 5 centimeters dilated, that's like earlier labor. That's when you might experience the discomfort, the challenge, the pain, but it's really not as severe as it's gonna get. Between like 5 to 7 centimeters or 5 to 8 centimeters even, that's a big point. That's gonna be like a more intense point. For me, it's a painful point. And a lot of times that's when you'll decide that you want an epidural, if that's something you're considering. That's when, especially if you're exhausted, for many moms, that the labor process, especially with our first kid, is so long that makes us desire an epidural. And I'm right there with you. I get it. If you're in that position, there's so much understanding and no shame in the slightest if you end up with an epidural. But a lot of times that's when you choose to get it, is between 5 and 7, 5 and 8 centimeters. Once you're at 7 centimeters or 8 centimeters, that is like the final stretch. 7 to 10, you're there. It's gonna happen. It could take a while depending on your situation, but there's like this transitional time. They call it the ring of fire. I don't know exactly how that works for every woman. In my experience, my water didn't break. For both babies, it wouldn't break. And so I was progressing maybe to like a 7, I think that far. but I wasn't getting any further because my water wasn't breaking. So in both labors, the doctor had to break my water. And then from the time they broke my water, it was so short until the baby actually arrived. So for Eloise, the doctor broke my water and she went home. She thought it was going to take a while based on the fact that I had been in labor already for 24 hours and longer than 24 hours probably. And the baby hadn't come yet. So the doctor actually went home. And within that hour, I knew that I was ready to push out this baby, and they had to call the doctor and had her rush back. She lived right by the hospital. And at that point, my birth coach and the crew in the room, they're like having me do these happy birthday breaths of like blowing out candles, like, and try not to push the baby out, trying to hold it till the doctor got there. With Wilson, they broke the water and the doctor left the room, and I feel like almost immediately I was screaming like, I'm ready to push. He's gonna come now. And the nurse, she was like, no, he's not gonna come just yet. If you push now, you're gonna tear. He's not ready. And I was like, no, he's ready. Tearing, let's speak to that for a second. With Eloise, I did not tear. The doctor did an episiotomy on me because as I was pushing to get the baby out, she kept getting stuck, and it was pretty evident that I was going to tear, or the baby was just not going to be coming until that happened. So they did an episiotomy, baby came right out. I did not have to push much at all for Eloise to come. I did not feel what was the episiotomy. I was just in a lot of pain all around, but it was amazing. Actually, it was like this incredible moment, right as that's about to happen. The doctor's like, Jessica, stop, look at this baby. And I look down and I push the head. The head's the hardest part to push out. The body just sort of comes out like Santa going on the chimney in, if you've seen the Santa Claus one. That's an exact depiction of what labor and delivery is. So the body just comes, and it was so beautiful and cute. And so I don't really know what happened down there. I know I was in pain, but it wasn't horrific. With Wilson, the nurse is like, no, don't push, and I am like a wild animal, probably screaming. And I was like, I have to push. And my sister said, my sister is amazing and very medical minded. She's becoming a nurse and just like loves everything kind of bloody. She's down yonder looking into me, and she said that as I'm yelling, my baby's head is coming. And so then the nurse just came right over, and she's like, yep, you're right, you gotta push. And so I push, and out comes Wilson. He was 9 pounds 4 ounces, 23 inches, which is a big dude. Eloise was only 7 pounds 11 ounces, which is not small, but comparatively it was small. And she was 21 inches. And I will say that with Wilson, I was in a lot more pain. I feel like I was in a lot more pain. I don't know if maybe memory has blurred my experience with Eloise. What ended up happening after I had Wilson, I guess I tore during that process. I don't know all of the details of that, but my placenta didn't totally come out. And so the doctor gave me a catheter. I didn't know this. My sister told me about it afterwards. But a catheter, and then basically like put her hand in to pull my placenta out. And I didn't know any of that was happening. All I knew was that I was holding my baby, but I was still in like tremendous pain. It did not last long, thankfully, and I knew I was in good hands. And I don't know if it's like maybe the medical team forgot I didn't get an epidural, and like that's how they handle it if I did. I'm not really sure. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. But either way, with Wilson, I felt it was a bit crazier for me, and I felt like scattered, and it took me a few minutes to like gather myself. I was saying sorry a lot, which is my personality, is to like, I don't know, say sorry in times when I shouldn't have said sorry. But I was like, I'm sorry for yelling. I'm sorry, baby, for not handling that better. I just felt like this weird guilt thing, which I've actually heard other moms have said that they experience that too. So as I'm having Wilson and everything is like going pretty well until I get to the most intense part. At the most intense part, I was telling my sister like, nobody should have kids. Why did I get pregnant again? Make sure I don't get pregnant again. And my sister can handle it. She was laughing at me. She was like, Jessica, you're right there. The baby's coming. We've got it. You can do it. So I know that I was in a lot of pain because I was talking like mad woman in the middle of labor. And now we think it's really funny. The having a baby without an epidural thing gets a little bit complex in my mind because there are people who believe that labor shouldn't be painful and that it doesn't have to be painful. And I love that. I think that's so great. I would have loved to have not painful deliveries. I think one thing that's challenging for me about that mentality is that sometimes people who believe that, they say things like, this is what I've heard: the reason why your labor is painful is because you came under the pain mentally, because you had fear, or because you couldn't tune down the adrenaline and tune up the oxytocin that makes the body deliver in a more pleasurable way. Basically, what I felt after I had Eloise and I heard people talking like that was this sense of like failure of, oh man, I had a baby and I tried my best and it did hurt. And so I just felt weird, like, did I do it wrong? And then again with Wilson, I kind of went into it, not like trying to have a painless labor, but just sort of like, okay, well, I guess if I'm on top of my mind better, it will be more comfortable. And then it was more uncomfortable than the first one. And so I have this, I don't know, sensitivity to that. There are people who want to teach you ways to have a more comfortable, pain-free labor. And I think you should learn from them if that's what you would like to pursue. I believe it must be possible. I have people in my life who have said that that was their experience, and I think that's so cool. My experience didn't go that way, and my expectation in having this baby, if I have it without an epidural, is that it will probably be painful and uncomfortable. I don't want to like prophesy that over myself, and then I don't know, I'd go into it trying to not have it be that and doing all these things that you can learn. But I think it's probably realistic to go into labor knowing that it's very likely, if you're doing it without an epidural, it's going to be uncomfortable, painful, challenging. And if you can know that, then it won't surprise you, and then you can probably endure it. Now I'm going to give you some tips for how I think you could have a better labor experience, things that I did, things that I have learned from other people. One thing I'll say is have a good team of people around you in the hospital or at home or wherever you choose to do it. You want people who are supportive, who understand your desires and will advocate for you, who will be sound, wise minds. If a doctor comes in, for instance, a recent experience I had with a friend, she went into it having the desire for an unmedicated labor. We tried for that for a very, very long time, and she was not progressing, and she was exhausted. And sometimes the exhaustion of labor can turn to suffering, and you don't want to be suffering while having your baby. And so in that, the doctor said, we would like to propose you getting an epidural. You do not have to do that, but it is something that may help your experience. You appear to be suffering. And that decision then was not just the decision on the mom to make, but rather it was something all of us made as a team. So I was the doula for this. And for this particular situation, we all kind of decided together what would be best for her. And it was easy to do because we understood her values. We understood why she was doing what she was doing. And ultimately, it ended up being amazing that we did it like that, because the baby was actually not, it's a longer story, but basically the baby ended up being in danger. And they had to take her quickly for an emergency C-section. And because she had an epidural, they didn't have to give her an anesthesia, which would have put her entirely under. And so it was actually like the best thing that could have happened for her. And the baby was safe and beautiful, and they just had a really amazing time, and we got to be a team to do that with her together. In my case, things didn't go that way, and my team of people was really just so good at encouraging me to endure and persevere, and they were able to help meet my needs as far as like offering support on my lower back, offering cold compresses on my face. Some women like warmth on them. I preferred the cold. Ice cubes to chew, water to drink. I don't know, they were just a really great reinforcement when it came time to endure and really persevere and get this baby out of me. Both times my team helped me to make that happen. So you want to have a great team around you. Also, birth environment, where you have the baby is really important. So you want to feel like you know what you're doing when it comes to making that decision. I mean, I already told you with Eloise, I had no clue. Had the baby at the hospital. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. That's what other people do. And it was great. I loved my doctor. I loved the hospital. And just feel like you're making the decision according to what you want. I will say, as a friend, please consider your safety. So if you're going to do it at home, will you just make sure that you have access to medical care should you need it? Make sure that an ambulance can get to you quickly. God forbid, I don't want anything to happen to you. I've just read too many stories of people not being able to get the medical help they needed. And so if you just have in your mind, like, okay, if we absolutely needed to get some extra support from a local hospital, would we have access to quick medical care? And yeah, this is just me speaking as a friend. You don't have to do what I'm saying. I believe in you. I believe in your doula. I believe in your bed to deliver your baby, or your bathtub, wherever you want to do it. You got it. I just get nervous for you. I like you so much. Okay, focus your energy on the center of your body. So when you're having a contraction, you might feel tempted to tighten everything up, tighten your forehead and your fists and your muscles and your arms and your legs, because the adrenaline in you is giving you energy everywhere. But you don't need to do that. In fact, it's not beneficial. You want all the energy to go to your uterus, your abdominal muscles, everything that's going to help get that baby out of you. So my doctor even was like, Jessica, we want to relax the forehead. We want to relax our arms. Focus on breathing to get through this contraction. And that was very helpful. In between contractions, you get to rest. And I say it like, you get to rest. While you're in it, it doesn't feel totally restful, but it is rest. It's rest. So during that time, you want to deep breathe, drink some water, be like, okay, I can do this. Positive self-talk. That's when the people who love you are like, you're doing amazing. You don't sound like a wild animal. You look like a fairy princess. That's what you're going to need for all your contractions. And try not to hold your breath. Try not to hyperventilate. Trust your body. Move around. Get in different positions. You don't even have to know positions before you go into it. I really didn't. Some positions that helped me, I'll tell you, because you're here. And this is the world's longest video. If you are here, you deserve something great. I don't know what, but something really good. Okay, positions. Like you can get on all fours. You can put your arms up in the air and hold on to something. I held on to Sean, or you can hold on to a chair. And you're stretching. Sitting like this was good. Being like this helped. Leaning over. I don't know. Oh my gosh, you could do everything. You do anything you want. This is your moment. You may, when contractions come, feel like you're going to pee or poop. You probably won't. Some women have written me asking I don't know, does that happen? I'm scared that will happen. Is that gross? I'm pretty sure both times I did poop. I don't know that. I don't remember when it would have happened. I probably asked my sister, and that's probably why I think I did. What I will say is, from what I know, is that if it happens, the staff there, they're amazing at being little rapid fire cleanup crews, and they just clean you up and throw it in the trash can. There's a trash can right there, and you are just clean as a beautiful whistle in no time. So you do not have to worry about that. You just do whatever you need to do, babe. You got it. Trust your body. Move around. You can do this. Positive self-talk. Can you tell I'm trying to talk faster? Should have tried to talk faster this whole time. Tell yourself great things. Hold to the reason of why you're trying to do this unmedicated. Are you wanting to prove to yourself that you're strong? Because you are so strong. But if that's a value that's going to help carry you through, I'm strong, I was made for this, I can do this, this is beautiful. Hold those things in your mind and keep them there when all the other thoughts are coming in. Holy moly, this hurts. You just toss that one to the side and remember how strong and capable you are. What could help you during pregnancy is guard your heart and mind from things that are going to scare you, because you want to not go into this feeling scared. You can totally do this. Also, there's no shame in getting medication if you need medication. You just ask for help as you go. Women all around the world are having babies in really crazy ways. We can definitely do this. Yeah, listen to great stories. Try and avoid the ones that are making you scared. Watch videos only if it's helpful. I don't always find them to be helpful, unfortunately, but I just would do what works for me. And you're going to be great. It would be great if your partner could have some idea of what they're getting themselves into. So I know that some partners like to read books about it, watch YouTube videos, just maybe let them know, like, this might be intense for you, for me to have a baby without any medication. I would love for you to be prepared. Doulas often will want to meet with both the mother and the partner to prep them. Yeah, just so that it's not a totally new and scary experience for them. It's gonna be so amazing. You're gonna love it so much. I can't remember if there's anything else I want to tell you. I feel like there's so many things because I just like you. But I guess my biggest thing that I want you to know is you are incredible. This is gonna be amazing. You can definitely do it. If you are ending up totally exhausted and you need to get an epidural for whatever reason, you do that and you don't feel any shame. If you end up needing a C-section, you do that and you do not feel any shame. You can be proud of yourself. You have carried this baby, delivered this baby, you're caring for the baby, you're doing such a good job. It's very intense. There's a lot going on inside of you. It's okay if you feel a little bit crazy at moments. Yeah, you're just amazing, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to be so thankful for this little person in your life. It's going to change your whole life in a beautiful way, and I'm really excited for you. Yep, and I don't know what else to tell you, but I like you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have the most magical, beautiful labor and delivery. I hope that you're one of the people that has a painless delivery. Okay, listen to this. My friend went in to get a checkup. This is a real story. She went in to get a checkup and she was 7 centimeters dilated. That is so far dilated. And she had no idea. She just went in for a checkup and that's what happened. And the doctor was like, you're about to have your baby. I have to admit you now. And she said, I don't want to be admitted now. I wanted to go to In-N-Out for lunch because In-N-Out's right across from our hospital. And the doctor was like, sorry, I don't think you're going to make it to In-N-Out and back. You're going to have your baby right now. And so her husband came and they had their baby, and she's telling me about it later, and she's like, yeah, I just felt like the contractions were kind of like waves at the ocean. Her story is so beautiful, and she has an accent, and she's telling me this, and I was like, what? My labor did not feel like waves of an ocean, unless those waves are the kind that, anyway, you're not going to watch scary videos, so we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, what do I wish for you? I wish for you 7 centimeters that you don't even know have been dilated, In-N-Out that you can't have because you're about to go have your waves of an ocean baby, and then you can have In-N-Out after because it's fantastic. And then you just have a beautiful baby and a glorious labor story, and wow, beautiful. Okay, you're amazing. I believe in you. Thank you for watching this way too long video. I like you. See you on the internet. Okay, bye.